All right, so conspiracy farm. You even said it before we went on the air. You like the third rail, do you?
Yes,
you like
sir.
you like
Yes, sir.
third rail politics and third rail content. You're very passionate about the possibility there's a connection between the way these people are being influenced and the way they're acting to the way kids are being put on prescription drugs at earlier ages. I mean, we joke about soy boys, but you've taken a hard look at this.
I haven't. You know, when I started teaching martial arts to children many years ago from age 5 on up, I noticed that a lot of the boys were on, you know, the Ritalins and a lot of the other psychotropic drugs. And my goal with the parents, I would discuss with them, our goal together is to get them more focused and get them off these drugs, correct? And most parents agreed with that. But what I noticed was a pattern of kids that I just saw into the future, and this is, you know, this is over 20 years ago. I saw into the future that these kids were going to get to be 18, 20 years old and no longer be on mom and dad's insurance, and then the prescriptions weren't available to them, that they've been on their entire, while their brains have been developing, numbed by these drugs, and then they were going to basically have life come at them in full color, and there was going to be a lot of meltdowns. And I don't see how it's not connected, to be honest with you, because so many millions upon millions of children have been raised on these drugs that it's likely, I mean, there's no way to deny it in my mind.
Again, we joke about soy boys, right? But you do have lots of kids that were raised with these drugs, and then they go out into a real world, right? And a real world that smacks them across the face pretty hard. Yeah. They don't know how to deal with it. They seem to also be the product of a world without consequences and personal responsibility. Right. And you and I talked about this when I was signing my daughter up for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that, you know, my daughter's me. I was a hyper kid. I mean, look what I do for a living, right? I mean, it takes a certain hyper personality to do.
You're good at it.
Thank you. And I'm noticing how much she is focusing and how focused she is on her goals in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that they learn a lesson and they go right to sparring, and she's very, very excited about it. But I'm noticing it's having an effect on her. She's still a hyper kid. She's still a wonderful kid. She's still my little girl. Right. But I'm noticing a new sense of discipline and order in her, and even in my 6-year-old. And I think that is lacking in the kind of kid that opens their mind to this form of politics and then says, I'm going to join this masked group of people, I'm going to make myself anonymous, and I'm going to beat people because I don't understand consequences. And there's been very little consequences, quite frankly.
True, when they're endorsed by Democratic politicians almost.
When the mayor of Portland lets them take the streets.
It's insane. But no, the martial arts can literally save your child's life. Instead of the drugs, choose martial arts. Put your kid in martial arts. And I've seen over the years, thousands upon thousands of kids that I taught over the years, their lives have absolutely been changed. And they were on these drugs early in life, and we were able to get them off. And these are the people that walk up to me as adults that I don't recognize, and they're with a wife or with a husband, and they have children now, and say, do you remember me? I go, I honestly don't. And they said, you used to teach me from age 5 to 10. Thank you for what you did for me. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's why I just stress and I urge because we had a teacher when my oldest daughter was in 5th grade say, we think your daughter might, you know, have some ADHD. It might be a good idea to put her on some medication. And she said she'll never be an A student in math. She had the gall to say that to me and suggest that we needed to put my daughter on drugs. 3 years later, I had my daughter go back to that elementary school because she was a straight A student in math also, and took her report card and showed it to her, and I just smiled at the teacher. Don't let these teachers influence you. Be a parent, and the teachers need to be teachers, and we need to take care of these kids and get them in martial arts, get them focused, get them in sports, and pay attention to them.
Why am I not surprised that, given the left lean of academia, there's never been a study that looks at some of these very violent young people who don't seem to have any concept of personal responsibility. They don't seem to suffer the consequences very often, even when they're arrested, when they are.
Right.
It's usually a low-level slap on the wrist, right? I mean, we've seen states and counties and municipalities go out of their way to pass anti-masking laws, obviously in response to the Klan, and we've kind of let Antifa occupy that space. We've let them take over streets in Portland. We've let them beat people from Oakland through LA, through San Francisco, Seattle, and there's very little consequences. And look, I don't do a whole lot of third rail. You know, I don't do a whole lot of conspiracy stuff. But I would have to imagine, is there a connection between a generation of youth raised on these drugs in an environment without consequences or personal responsibility, and the anonymity that comes with this thing that's attractive to them.
Right, and not only that, but also tie in the war on boys has been going on for a long, long time, and so when I look at an Antifa crowd, I don't see a masculine individual in there at all. I mean,
It's very beta male.
It's very beta male, and what this does, look, it's been proven over time that when you take the masculinity out of a boy, because we learn differently when we're forced to sit in schools, at desks, a lot of other things, and the combination of the drugs that are affecting their brains and how they work, and a lot of the other programming that's going on, you're getting people who are not confident in who they are. They don't know who they are, and they're lashing out is what they're doing, okay? These are the people that end up on drugs. These are the people that attack women. These are the people that attack innocent civilians while they're wearing masks.
What about the women? You see a lot of, and I'm not trying to, body shame, but, you see very skinny boys and a lot of very heavy women who are also wearing the mask. And I'm kind of wondering, again, not exactly a lethal fighting force here, and they really haven't really been met with that much resistance. I mean, there's been some moments here and there, and they've picked on the wrong person once in a while. But and I don't want people in mismatched hockey and softball gear or catcher's mitt. I don't want like some weird Gangs of New York, Dead Rabbits kind of thing. But it seems like that people that would normally, if they went around picking fights with their peers, would lose. But in this group, they've kind of found a brotherhood or a sisterhood. They've kind of found a community here, and they kind of look at each other as, like it's the movie The Warriors or something.
It's a big-time false sense of security in my mind is what it is. And they have not, as a group, run into a group of rough characters. I mean, thank God they haven't come to Bettendorf, Iowa and demonstrated, because I've never been even close to the toughest guy in Bettendorf, Iowa, right? That town is chock full. It's 35,000 people, and there's probably 20 guys in that town easy that could beat me up. So it's just not the place you want to come and pick fights with people.